Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you ready to suck less at shooting? Are you ready to be better? Do you want to be better? That's what we're going to talk about today. But this is part 2. So if you haven't heard part 1, you may want to scroll back and listen to it. And since this is part 2, you won't have to hear me ramble on about the bio, but I will say, welcome to Gunfighter Life, the podcast where we talk about guns, gunfighting tactics, ballistics the right way with almighty God at the center, Judeo-Christian values, and real-world first-hand experience. Here's a big one that's really going to ruffle a lot of feathers. You think that kit is way more important than it is. And I love talking about this and debating this pistol versus that pistol and talking trash on Glocks. Right, I do, right? It's fun. But that's not going to make you a good shooter. Here's the thing. The kit makes such little difference. If you made a pie chart and you cut out the sliver of the percentage that kit makes a difference versus the person's ability, I'm not going to say it's none. It is some. But it's a little teeny tiny sliver of the pie. 10, 15, 20%, maybe 20%. As long as your kit is halfway decent, right? Case in point, look at some of the top shooters in the world that win like multiple national championships. The one thing I don't like about competition shooting, a lot of that is kind of sponsored. But pretty much all the top shooters are sponsored, like NASCAR or whatever. But the fact is that you'll have top shooters and they'll shoot for this company for a couple of years, and they'll shoot for that company for a couple of years, and they'll shoot for this company for a couple of years. Completely different companies, different products. It makes very little difference because they're so good. You know, they can switch from, I don't know, Smith & Wesson to Walther or Glock to Ruger, and really it doesn't make that much of a difference because the skills are so much more important. So, is it cool to talk about gear? Is it cool to do stuff on gear? Yeah, as long as that's like a side quest hobby. As long as you don't think you having all the cool kit is going to make a difference. And I know very little about guitars, but I'm sure that there are really good high quality guitars and there are really not as good quality guitars. But how good you can play guitar is way, way more dependent on how good you can actually play versus what guitar you have. If you gave me a $10,000, I don't know, custom Fender Stratocaster, I assume that's a good guitar, or you give me my first guitar from Walmart, it's not going to make any difference to me because I can't play guitar. I'm going to hit the strings and some noise is going to come out, but I doubt you'll be able to tell the difference. Now, when you start getting really, really good at playing guitar, changing guitars or tuning guitar or certain guitar strings, I don't know, this analogy, I don't play guitar. Could that make a small difference in how good that song sounds? Sure. But very little compared to how good you can actually play guitar. So, I think it's good and healthy to evaluate your kit and see if there's better stuff on the market. Not to be a Luddite about stuff, but not just to be the first one to jump on a bandwagon of new stuff. I think that's good and healthy and part of being a gunfighter, being a good shooter. But if you think that's going to make you a good shooter, you're sorely mistaken. And I think a lot of people, even though they wouldn't articulate it that way, think that just because they have something or because they have good kit, they're good with their kit. And those are two completely different things. The potential might be there, but until they realize or have the skill to realize that potential, it's just that. It's theoretical. It would be, and I hear, I don't, not to pick on newer generations of people, but I hear there are certain people nowadays, younger people, that can't read a traditional clock. If you can't read a traditional clock with a hand face, especially one without numbers on it, if I give you a Timex like that with the old hands and no numbers, and you can't tell me what time it is, if I give you a Rolex with hands and no numbers, it's a way, way better watch. What, it was a Rolex, like tens of thousands of dollars? You're still not going to be able to tell me the time because you don't know how, because you don't have the skill or the ability to tell time on that clock. Might the Rolex be a more accurate timepiece than the Timex? Yes. But until you have the skill and ability to read the clock, it almost doesn't even matter, right? So, with those analogies, I hope that you will concede that one of the things that holds people back in shooting is they spend way too much time and energy and sometimes money focused on the kit. If you've got a decent gun, maybe buy ammo instead of worrying about if the next new gun is 5% better than the gun that you have. You're only maybe realizing 15% of that gun's potential. Can you get to a point in shooting where a gun can hold you back? Absolutely you can. Again, kit, I'm not going to say it doesn't make any difference, but it's far less a sliver of that pie chart than a lot of people want to believe that it is. And that could be holding you back in shooting. Thinking that spending money on stuff is going to make you good. Now, spending money can make you good. Spending money on training, spending money on ammo, going to competitions which cost money, that can make you better. But it'd kind of be like spending money on gym stuff. Get a gym membership or get some stuff to work out with. But if you go to the gym and you're like, I'm really not in shape, instead of working out really hard or running really hard, I'm going to buy new gym shorts. These gym shorts, I don't even know because I work out all the time, but I could care less what brand I have. Instead of these, I think this is actually what I have. Instead of these Champion Walmart gym shorts, I'm going to go out and buy the best Gymshark or Lululemon gym shorts, and then I'm going to be in shape. Right? You just spent money on stuff that's not really going to make any difference. Now, if you start running a ton and you're like, these shorts are chafing me, maybe get different shorts. But you get the point. Just spending money on cool kit, I look cool in the holster or whatever, but as soon as you go to shoot in front of somebody or shoot when it matters, it's very apparent that just because it's good kit doesn't mean you can use it. Or doesn't mean it makes much difference. So, thinking that spending money equates to being a better shooter. Okay, now, these next ones, I think, these aren't like in order of importance, but these next ones are really important. And this next big point, I almost think I should make a whole other episode. Maybe I will, but I'm going to hit on it here. You lack discipline. Shooting is a perishable skill. If you want to be good at it, you have to do it, and you have to do it pretty regularly, especially handgun shooting. Rifle is a little bit less perishable, but handgun shooting is very perishable. You lack discipline. There's going to be times, and again, since I just used working out, I'll use it again. By God's grace, I work out, except for Sabbath, every day, often multiple times a day. You know how often I actually want to do that and feel like doing that? If we're talking about pie charts again, it's a very small piece of that pie, but I do it anyway. Even when it's not fun, even when it's not cool. Even when I can make all kinds of excuses. Oh, I didn't sleep well. Oh, I don't feel good. Oh, I don't know, I have a hangnail. Oh, the place looks too busy. Pick one, I don't know. Think I need new running shoes, right? If I listened to every excuse or made every excuse, I would almost never work out. And guess what? I wouldn't be in shape. Same with shooting. Lack of discipline. Discipline's like a lot of other muscles. The more you use it, the better you'll get at it. If you lack discipline, pray to God, the one who gives all good things. You should pray to him, I would submit, before any training session, before any shooting session. Rejoice always, pray continually. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. Pray about it. If you need discipline, pray about it. But that's a major thing holding men back. Not just in shooting, but since we're talking about shooting, that's a big one. You lack discipline. Shooting can be a lot of fun. It can also really suck sometimes, especially when you're not doing good, especially when it's crazy hot out or whatever the thing is. You're like, oh, I don't really this, that. I've got chores to do. I've got whatever. I'm not telling you should never do anything else but only shoot, but you got to do it even when you don't want to do it. Discipline. That holds a lot of people back. And the next one ties into that. Dry fire, dry fire, dry fire. You might suck at shooting because you're not dry firing. I used a fighting analogy in the first episode. May have been a while since you listened to the first one because, I don't assume you listen to all these in order or listen to part 1 and part 2. I may not even release them next to each other. But let's just say that you're like, oh, MMA looks interesting. I'm going to go to my local place that has an MMA competition and I'm going to sign up. And you sign up and you get your butt kicked. You don't even get a punch in. You don't even get a move in. You just get dropped like a sack of rotten potatoes. And the next time you go and you get beat again, same thing. You don't even get a punch in. You just get creamed. Would it be wise to just keep going? You could, and I would applaud your persistence. But is that the best way to get better? Or would you be like, I have no experience or I have very little experience. I should probably go home and do some training. I should probably punch a bag. I should probably learn some wrestling moves and practice them, at least 1 or 2, so I know something. I should at least do some sparring before I jump in and actually do the thing. That's dry fire. Dry firing is as or more important than live firing once your gun is set up in zero, because you need to make sure your gun is zeroed. You need to make sure that it's reliable. But after that, as far as continued training, dry fire is often more important than live fire. Ask any really good shooter if they dry fire. I've never met one that didn't. Dry fire. Even when you don't want to, even when you're tired, even when you have a hangnail, even when you have a bad hair day, you need to dry fire, and that's part of the discipline. Dry firing is almost never fun. If you're just into shooting to have fun and plink and shoot cans, that's fine. That's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about if you want to be good at shooting, you should dry fire. And you should dry fire often, not just when you feel like it, not when it's super fun, because guess when dry firing is going to be fun? Never time. But you got to do it anyway, which ties into the discipline thing. I'll tell this story, and I'm not saying everybody needs to be this extreme, but when I met my wife, I was the commander of a tactical team to stop active shooters. Without getting too graphic, my wife and I, we did not consummate the marriage, which if you are too young to hear, you probably don't know what that means, until we were formally married. But we were very attracted to each other, and we would kiss and do things like that when we were dating, when I was the commander of a tactical team. In the evening, I would stop her, and we would stop, and I would say, I have to dry fire. I have to make time for dry fire. My life and the life of my men depend on me being good at pulling a trigger. I need to dry fire. I will dry fire. And I did. Now, certainly that is not what I wanted to be doing. But I made a point to do it because it's important. Dry fire. Maybe there's somebody out there that just has all the ammo, and even if you do, like I've been blessed to have jobs where I had all the government ammo I could shoot. But you're still gonna, again, I don't know anybody that's a really good shooter that doesn't dry fire. You need to dry fire. And dry firing is almost never ever fun. Especially not if you're actually trying to get better and being critical of yourself. It can be very, very frustrating. But you need to do it. Dry fire. So, I've talked about a lot of stuff in this 2-part series. And this applies to myself too, right? I'm about to, God willing, I dry fired last night. God willing, I'm about to dry fire tonight. Except for Sabbath, I try and dry fire every day. I just went on a trip to Norway where I couldn't have guns. And that might be the longest I've been without dry firing in who knows how long. So when I got back, I need to start dry firing regularly. I've got a shooting competition coming up. This applies to me too. It's a perishable skill for me too. It's not like, and this, maybe you can add this to the list, but it's not like I've arrived. I'm a good shooter. And that's it. That's another fallacy. And I think sadly, a lot of people fall into this trap. You may have been a good shooter. Are you today a good shooter? Because if I get into a gunfight today, how good I am today is what matters. Not that I was a state rifle champion. When was that? 1999, 2000-ish, turn of the last century. That was when I won my first state rifle competition. if I said, yeah, I'm a freaking rock star rifle shooter, and I hadn't touched a rifle since then, if I get into a shooting today, how good a rifle shooter do you think I'm going to be? Right? Rifle's not as perishable as pistol, but it is perishable. Even small nuances. I used to be really into Steel Challenge, and I've been blessed to win more shooting Steel Challenge competitions than I can remember. I took a long break from Steel Challenge. I got back into it this year, and it was a pretty steep learning curve for me. Even though I knew what to work on, I knew the things, but even though I was practicing pistol and had done other pistol competitions, there are certain specific things in Steel Challenge that I really needed to work on. It's a work in progress. It's not like you have arrived. It's a lifestyle. I am dedicated to being a good shooter in life. It's like being in shape. It's not like, don't be the guy that was like, I was so in shape when I was in high school, and they're like 35, 40 years old and in horrible shape. That doesn't matter. It matters how good a shape you're in today. If you have to run today, it matters how good a runner you are today. If you have to get into a fight today, it matters how good you are at fighting today. If you get into a shooting, it matters how good you are at shooting today. Not how good you were 20 years ago or 5 years ago or whatever. So it's a continued journey. And I'm still on that journey. I've been blessed to have the talent, skills, and abilities that God has blessed me with. But here's the thing. If you're familiar with that parable, I kind of give a little biblical teaching on the end of the last episode. I guess without even trying, praise God, I'll do it again on this episode. That parable, the parable of the talents. Jesus tells the parable of the talents, and to one is given 5, to one is given 2, and to one is given 1. And then some of the men use the talents wisely and multiply them, and they're praised for it. One man does not and doesn't use the talent he's given, and he is chastised for it, and he takes the talent away and gives it to the one who has more talents. And the thing that Jesus says at the end of this parable, to he who has, more shall be given, and he will have an abundance. But he who does not have, even what he has is taken away. Men, use your talents. And that applies to more than just shooting, for sure, but it applies to shooting. Use your talents. Get after it. Thanks for listening, and have a blessed day.
Bubba Wallace here from 2311 Racing. Funny thing about being fast, you end up waiting a lot. First to show up, first in line, then just waiting. Me, I rev up Chumba Casino. With over 200 social casino games, no slow lanes here. Why sit around when you can spin? I'm already racing. Your turn. Play for free at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.